so plain and precious. Finally, the Book of Mormon is the keystone of testimony. Just as the arch crumbles if the keystone is removed, so does all the church stand or fall with the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. The enemies of the church understand this clearly. This is why they go to such great lengths to disprove the Book of Mormon. For if it can be discredited, the prophet Joseph Smith goes with it. So does the claim to priesthood keys and the revelations and the restored church.
This work is a fraud.
If there are those who oppose any of the proposals, we ask that you contact your stake president.
For a good whipping.
Travis Wingoodsell. Studying church history is a threat to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Because when people do research, they learn the truth. They learn the lies. They learn how to separate the truth from the lies and dismiss the lies. The church doesn't want that. The church has created a lie, covering up and hiding, like a woman's body, the truth of church history. And so the short-lived, less than a decade of the Scripture Mastery program for Seminary and Institute went the way of the dodo bird when the consequences of having members of the church studying their scriptures was exposing the church's church history lies and scripture lies even. Too many problems, and the church doesn't want to answer any of the problems. Refer to your stake president for a good whipping. And saw this morning a video about the controversy over Jesus' birth and nativity. Matthew and Luke are contradictory to each other, and so religious leaders are questioning their faith bubbles, not knowing how to reconcile them. They don't trust Constantine's mother. They're doubting her. Why would they do that? The thing is that there was no Bible with Constantine. He just created the creed, the religion of Christianity. And so 75 years later, when Christians take that creed to go through all of the papyrus scrolls of Scripture and select those that they approved of to conform and comply to the first creed. But as Joseph Smith tried repeatedly to teach Mormons, you got to use the Spirit. The Spirit is seer, prophet, revelator, translator. And so in Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, he outlines it for Mormons so that they can understand. None of it is literal history. Even in 1838, Mormons still weren't getting it. Mormons were still calling the Book of Mormon literal history Christian. So he has to come out in verse 19. Christianity is all wrong, all abominable, all corrupt. It denies the gift and power of the Spirit. And so he then talks about the Methodist preacher who denies the gifts and powers of the Spirit. It's laid out for Mormons very plain, pure, and most preciously. And Mormons weren't getting it. And then we find out through Willard Richards that he and the Danites of Brigham Young intentionally did not want to get it, to destroy Joseph Smith, have him murdered and steal his religion and new religious order. And here we are today. And so, being the first class of early morning seminary with the Scripture Mastery program, Sister Freeman also likes to go and brag about how she too was a part of that, showing how they taught us to annotate the Scripture Masteries. And as Sister Freeman shows you her scriptures, she did the minimum, only annotating the Scripture Masteries and nothing else. And then there was me. I used that as a platform to then go to the rest of the Scriptures, to study the rest of the Scriptures, to go beyond even the scriptures, like the Apocrypha that we have the section in the Doctrine and Covenants of, but for some reason we don't have that scripture. I want that scripture. Joseph Smith says it's scripture. Where is it? My dad had a Catholic Bible with it. And so, reading over it, I learned about Bel. That's an awesome story. Became my favorite. And yet, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is keeping back scripture from us. And I hear the excuses of other Mormons to justify not wanting scripture, claiming that we don't want more commandments. I don't see commandments in Bel. It's a story. But when you don't study, you make stuff up to justify a position of not studying. And all the Mormons who made those excuses over the years, and others, I just knew that it was based on their refusal to study. They didn't want to study. They didn't want to know. And then I would find out later why Mormons were afraid to study, because if you studied, you were fired and excommunicated. That information was kept back from me. And so I kept going. I wanted answers, and nobody was telling me, and so I had to go and find them myself doing the research. And so, yeah, I remember going through the scriptures, and even the Catholic scriptures of the Apocrypha, searching for the Ark of the Covenant. Everybody says they can't find the Ark of the Covenant. They don't know where it went to. So I was going to go through the scriptures, and I was going to find the Ark of the Covenant. And so, sure enough, eventually I found the Ark of the Covenant. Travis, you tease, you're not going to talk about that. I found it. I've been doing videos with it. If you're not going to follow me, and just make excuses to justify not following me, falsely accusing me of being wrong, bleep you. I told you in the beginning, spirit. If you're not going to study so that you won't know and understand, it's on you. And so, Latter Days was also another main focus of mine, being born and raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Benson told us I'm the youth of the noble birthright, and that 3 decades later, the latter days would start. Constitution would fall. Joseph Smith would be a false prophet. America will not survive. It will be destroyed by the secret combinations. So, the church attacked me after I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, showing how Joseph Smith is true, showing how the Book of Mormon is true, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints attacked me. And there's been way too many Mormons who don't believe me. I did the research, church condemns you from studying, and Mormons refuse to study and deny me. With my studies, there is a whole bunch of knowledge that I've obtained, far beyond the regular Mormon who's a lazy learner and a couch potato, lax disciple. As streaming allows Mormons to go on vacation for conference weekend and never bother to read or watch conference ever. Back in the day, outside of Utah, we had to travel 1 billion hours to get to our stake center that had the massive satellite so that we could exclusively watch General Conference. And so, in a strict Mormon household, we all were forced to watch conference. And I took the opportunity to catch up on my sleep. I'm learning through osmosis, Mom. And so, yeah, I still remember October 1978, General Conference, lying on my mom's lap. And then all of a sudden, during some old speaker, the whole stake starts rumbling. Had no idea what was going on in the October conference, 1978. If you're a Mormon and you don't know what I'm talking about and you have no clue, wow. Why are you a Mormon if you ain't gonna know Mormonism? Some historical moments in the church and you don't know about it? Yeah. But as YouTube has censored me from the younger generations, that only the Strengthening Church Members Committee at the church office building are watching me. And apparently they have women in the Strengthening Church Members Committee to spy on me. Women as old as my mom sitting behind a computer cyber terrorizing me. Granny Hacker. I don't get it. I know the younger generation don't stick with younger people to watch. They go to older people. So that's not their excuse for not watching my channel. And with the mass exodus that has occurred, it's not a reason of, well, we're faithful Mormon, you're an apostate, Travis, we're staying far away from you and shunning you because we don't want to turn to the dark side of the force rather than Lucifer of the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. That's not an excuse either. And maybe it's because years ago, when I talked about John DeLynn being a psychologist, that psychologist uses lies so that they can make a living. You know, maybe their sensitive snowflake feelings were hurt and offended, and they no longer come to my channel. Or maybe there's a concerted effort by John DeLynn to say, stay away from Travis. Not cool, John, if that's the case. But nobody else, you know, the younger kids, Well, John Dehlin's also younger, but still. But the even younger, anti-Mormon, antichrist, apostate Corohoruses, they don't care about me. They're popular, and so they're self-absorbed with themselves. And so they don't study and research. They hear from others. Alyssa Grimfeld. Yeah, all of her information on church history she got from John Dehlin's videos. And John Dehlin makes it very clear his content comes from a Christian. God. Yes, we're here with the barber of the 4th Street Barbershop to ask him about his expert opinion on nuclear physicists who were exploded yesterday at a factory. No, you use experts in the field to talk about a certain subject. You don't go to other people just because they're popular. Oh, dear God. And now we're finding out that students use AI for their papers and homework, and the teachers use AI to grade them. And how are anybody going to be using critical thinking? Oh, they're not? And so now the critical thinking jobs still left because they can't use AI because AI is not a critical thinker. There's nobody to fill those jobs because nobody is a critical thinker anymore. Nobody is graduating in a critical thinking field. Everybody's using AI. And AI lies. It makes stuff up. You know, it was bad enough when psychology took over the school systems in the 90s, threatening the teachers to stop grading the kids because their sensitive snowflake feelings were getting stressed. And now they need emotional support animals wherever they go, and they only get a pass-fail grade for showing up to class. And the psychologists are now drugging them for big pharma so that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can make mass loads of money on the stock market for both psychology and for big pharma. And so then they were graduating stupid, and they go and work for McDonald's and demand that McDonald's pay them while they sit in the corner stressed about flipping burgers with their emotional support animal. Popping pills. Oh my hell. And you wonder if America is going to survive, huh? We don't have much longer. Oh, dear God. And yet here I am, still learning, getting so much knowledge that I can't even get it out in a publication or a video content. There's just so much. And because my audience only has a handful of regulars, the rest of you are dominantly new. I am forced to repeat information. Because when I do a video and I don't repeat basic prerequisite information, you get these Mormons who are clueless. And they make a comment that's a hate comment, a death threat, a denialism with a false testimonial. Clueless that the Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not bear false witness. They just don't care because they don't study. They don't do the work to learn line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. And they don't even know that that's a scripture that I quoted from my visual memory. Because I've applied it in my daily life so that I can use it in other contexts. That's what you're supposed to do with the scriptures. At our age, if you don't know basic scripture, if you don't know basic doctrine, you have wasted your life as a Mormon. The church has succeeded in making you stupid. The church has kept you in the dark ages. And so, yes, you get judgy, you get offended, you get upset, and then you commit crimes. Because you can't come to grips with the fact that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, by denying you, forbidding you from studying your scriptures, made you stupid and made you a criminal. So in the news, that's now gone national, 2 Utah Mormon court clerks were harboring illegal alien Mormons. As a Mormon, we all know and understand why they did it. Protecting our own. Because Helaman chapter 6 said we're supposed to do that. Protect people in their illegality. But I did my quick little video last night exposing that it's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who ordered it. And so the rest of the news, refusing to investigate, only reporting what they're told to report, had no clue that it's the church who ordered these Mormons to do it. It doesn't have to be directly, it can be indirectly, like Governor Cox. You not paid attention to this? Trump, for his second coming inaugurational speech, declares all the long list of illegals. And Utah, instead of obeying, honoring, and sustaining the laws of Trump, were defying it. Cox handcuffed Utah ICE so they couldn't do their job. And so then you get these reports of individuals who outside of Utah get caught by ICE. And Utah puts up a stink. What are you doing? She's not illegal. Yes, she is. You're not listening. You didn't hear your Lord and Master Trump. You're not obeying. And BYU students, no, he's a Mormon. You can't touch him. He's illegal. You're not getting it. You're not wanting to get it. And all of the actions to refuse to follow Trump on this comes from the January 30th, 2025 official statement of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Church reaffirms immigration principles. Bleep Trump. And this is double speak. The church says we obey the laws. We comply with federal laws. And then they say, we seek to provide basic food, clothing, and harboring, transporting, and encouraging undocumented immigrants, regardless of their status. It's doublespeak. The church outwardly tells the government we conform and comply, and then their actions are a complete opposite contradiction. Violating the law, having no respect for it, because the church has ulterior motives, and I've exposed those to you. They are purposely trying to get Utah angry, or get the rest of the world angry with Utah, so that the rest of the world comes into Utah and destroys it. I have tried to warn you of this 200-year-old plot, and we're getting so close. Past month, it's escalated. It didn't happen for Charlie Kirk's assassination by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, framing and blaming an innocent man that's still dragging on. And yet, today there's the hearing as to whether or not the prosecution, and they obviously did, and that was a piss poor excuse that they gave. There's a gag order by the judge. Don't talk to the press about this case. But we're going to allow the press to view this case. Made very clear. But the defense is saying we don't want the press to be viewing this case because of the prosecution who's misrepresenting the case. KUTV2 exposed that the whole case is worthless because the prosecution has been destroying evidence. Destroying evidence. That's more than enough for a mistrial. And they can't reapply to prosecute because of the evidence being gone. The evidence is crucial to the case, and therefore without the evidence they have no case, and thus a mistrial is required. And so the Tyler Robinson not only is supposed to go free, but the actual assassin will go free. And then the prosecution will cry and complain, oh, we were denied justice for Charlie Kirk because the killer got away. Well, you didn't take it to court. You threw away the evidence. You didn't investigate. You went off of spiritual witness feelings for your case, just like you did with Corey Richens. Nobody is taught how to learn here in Utah. Nobody is taught to study and do research and investigate. And it carries over from the church into your business lives. And so that's why the two clerks did what they did, because of Cox and the church. Harboring, transporting, and encouraging undocumented immigrants to give them food and clothing and shelter, education, federal funding. Not obeying Trump. And yet Utah still is attempting to maintain a MAGA state in the appearance, when we all know it's to the church, not MAGA. So, with the Latter-day Studies, I knew back in seminary, back in the church in the early days, about the priesthood meeting at Adam-on-Diamond. I was misinformed about it. It was the Mormon myth at that time. But it was still taught to us in the general vague form. Thus why the need for mythologizing it into speculation. And as I was taught as a kid, is that the whole Melchizedek priesthood, not select people, that was when I came to Utah that I now hear about selected people being chosen to go. Back then, it was the whole Melchizedek priesthood were supposed to gather at a building in Adam-on-Diamond in the future. And so thus, well, if there's going to be in a building like a stake center, then the church would be building such a building for such a meeting at Adam-on-Diamond, which the church owns. They have church service missionaries who go there, who do tours, who mow the lawn and then get swallowed up by the lawnmower. Oh my God, I just barely watched the latest Final Destination. What the hell? That was horrifying. Horrifying. Oh my hell. And every Mormon hated me for covering that. It was not my fault. I didn't mow him over. It just was a coincidence that I just watched the movie and then he gets run over by the lawnmower. Nonetheless, I would hear here in Utah that the church had an underground chamber that was vast, and that truckload upon truckload were delivering supplies for this event in the latter days. All the building materials, food storage, clothing, everything needed to build it. All there, underground, with Adam-on-Diamond. It was all hush-hush, but I found out through a friend of a mother's, dog's, cousins, sisters, relatives, uncles, nephews. And I know it to be true. I feel it. That such things were going on. Mormons like to lie to be faith promoting so that they can be popular. Right, Danites? And nonetheless, Jesus is supposed to come, and because he has no keys, he gave them all away. He has to be given back the keys. And so as I'm doing my scripture study, I find section 107, verse 22, and I go, oh, wait a minute, isn't that supposed to be the Adam-on-Diamond thing? This was supposed to be when Joseph Smith died. And Brigham Young took his ball and went elsewhere, fleeing the country. So yeah, nobody followed the scriptures. They had the same problems then that they do now. So, go on my mission, come home, get educated, decipher Paleo-Hebrew, become a target for murder by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 2008. I'm fed up with the attempts to murder me, slowly depriving me of food, possessions, a basic living. My parents got exposed going behind my back. being conned by psychologists who told my parents to trick them into being clients themselves without them knowing that they were clients of a psychologist, that they were going there for my problems. Psychologists are so evil. So evil. Deceptive liars. Tricking people. Deceiving people. And now they're going after babies in the womb. They got a whole asylum for fetuses now. It's got to stop. Drugging pregnant women to thus drug the fetus so that they become a drug baby when they're born and thus forced to be with psychologists for the rest of their lives. That is just sick and evil. Not even the Nazis were that evil. Dear God. And so, yeah. 2008, I file a petition for a redress of grievances with the state of Utah. And the church ordered and paid to not only have me assassinated, but to erase me from history. The church made me and then were so afraid of me that they ordered and paid others to murder and erase me. My church, that claimed they were so true, that taught me how to study and do research, now wanted me dead. I didn't know about the Strengthening Church Members Committee that were activating me during all this time. Really? That's activation, huh? That's what you meant all those decades. Physically putting to rights that which you deem as not right. And yeah, for those of you who followed me, you know that that's what the Danite excuse was to purge Joseph Smith. This is not a religion. This is an enemy terrorist organization. It deserves no rights. It deserves to be exterminated. Just like in 1838. And so I have my dream while being prepped to be assassinated. The erasing had already begun. And I'm expected to die. But I got out in 2014, 6 years later. And getting out, I was well aware of everything from my dreams that I had been working on. Especially when I learned of the lunar eclipse that April. And as the months and years went by, I am seeing more and more, line upon line, precept upon precept. And then came the fateful day, Fox 13 News, Utah, November 4th, 2016. Announcing the total solar eclipse over the United States of America. I had done my research, I had known about this moment. And I knew, because nobody else was doing the study and research, that I was the only one on the face of the earth who knew what this meant. And so, having studied Plato, I knew that I had a responsibility to share that knowledge with others, not keep it to myself and tell everybody I'm smarter than you. By sharing knowledge, not opinion, you now present the facts that you are more intelligent. And yeah, that's offensive to those who are stupid. They get insecure, they're sensitive snowflakes, because they didn't do the research, they didn't study, they got conned and deceived by people who told them not to, who told them about witchcraft and other feelings over truth. Like psychology, like religion. And thus, such people, as Plato described in his allegory of the cave, seek to murder the person who's trying to share the knowledge. That's where we get murdering the messenger from. That and other examples. For some reason, mankind believes the lies to murder people who share truth. And it's in the Book of Mormon all over the place. The prophets are rejected by the people who want to murder the prophets and shut them up and ban their YouTube videos. And so I changed my YouTube channel to focus on informing, educating, and warning as many people around the world as YouTube would allow me to present to. And July 2017, my number one video was a reply video. It was a request for me to do that video. The woman demanded I tell her the date for the return to Zion. Well, it's not really just a date, it's a process. But she didn't want to walk. So I did the video for her. And it became my number one video. Because in that video, unbeknownst to me at the time, I revealed that I have the gifts and powers of God. Seer, prophet, revelator, translator, with the keys of Moses. Anybody? No, you don't know section 107 verses 91 and 92 to be the head of the church? Well, the church did. And that's when the censorship began. That's when the attacks resumed to murder me and erase me, censor me. It was just a video request. I hadn't found the receipt yet from 2008. All the church had to do was leave me alone, and then I would have never had cause to search for the receipt. Oh, there it is, online. Oh, dear God. You paid her to have me murdered? To be erased? And you've publicly showed it? Yeah. Again, the attacks became so severe that I was forced to sue in federal court. And I knew, I'm in Utah. These are Mormon judges. I wasn't going to win, but I could not just sit back and die. Strengthening Church Members Committee activating me. They will not leave me alone because their plot to murder all mankind is in jeopardy now. They are afraid of me. I scare this church because of Section 107 verses 91 and 92, people. The church had put a whole bunch of effort to keep people dumb from doing their research, from doing their studies, to have speculators and mythologizers vilified in this church. That's kooky whack jobs who need psychology to drug them, to give the church more money through their investments. And so, that's why I found the receipt. That's why I sued. And it just happened to be 2020. The church attacking me resulted in the fulfillment of prophecy. Spirit, remember? If the church just left me alone, there would be no need for me. If the church were good and true, there would be no need for me. But the church isn't good and true, and thus the need for me. And of course I lost, but I parted the waters. Creeping death appeared. Everything from the Exodus except for the Exodus. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Paul had reached out to me saying, hey, I'll come and rescue you. And I said, I don't know what happened, but I gotta stay. Try to save as many lives as I can. And yet, the church still, after winning, were sore winners, and escalated the attacks on me again to murder me. So, tampering by the prosecutors is nothing new in Utah. So YouTube censored me that summer. And then right before October Conference 2021, the news reported of obtaining a secret combination membership directory in an attempt to coup the United States of America, called the Council for National Policy. So I went through it, looking for Mormons, found it, W. Cleon Skousen was the original member founded in this group in 1981 under Reagan. This group have been responsible for all of the coups in America. Tinkle-down economics, this group. 9/11, this group. The wars, this group. The religious purge of America, this group. The idol worshiping to destroy the Constitution, this group. And there was the special church service missionary W. Cleon Skousen, Mr. Naked Communist, Mr. 1,000 Years of Plagiarism. As a kid, parents had this in their church history library. I'm going through them. I'm going, he's just plagiarizing the Bible. Not giving me anything new. I could have rewritten the Bible. I plagiarized it. What the hell? Who is this dumbass? That's him. And his nickname among Mormonism is Klingon Skousen, because of his space doctrine that's far out there. So I wasn't alone in recognizing his stupidity. Nonetheless, he's dead. So I kept checking to see if there was another Skousen. Sure enough, there was. Mark, the firstborn birthright blessing son, took over for Daddy. As I would learn that Royal Skousen was in charge of the Joseph Smith Papers project. But nonetheless, yeah, I now had a connection with the church through their agent, Special Church Service Missionary, with this council to overthrow America. I'd already exposed this in the lawsuits. And now I'm finding the evidence. I already knew it from doctrinal research and study from their own words at conference. Now I'm finding other external sources confirming all of this. And so, conference comes, and because of the censorship of YouTube, I didn't get the views that I normally got for conference. I'm being censored. Nonetheless, conference comes and goes. And then I found it. Because at first I found a member of the 70 who didn't reference it. And so I was thinking, he's claiming to be the source? A 70? Who's making it all up? No, you got it from Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. The Way to Perfection, pages 290 and 291, about Adam-on-Diamond and that council. In October, after conference, I got it. So I did the videos on it, exposed the plot. Lucifer is going to be at that meeting. And he's going to hand over the keys of government to Jesus. I'm smart enough to know that's not going to be literal history true. It's code. Lucifer is the President of the United States of America. And I now make the connection with 3 Nephi chapter 7 and that coup of the federal government. Because I still remember January 6th. I still remember the election from 2020. I still remember Marjorie Taylor Greene declaring a national divorce. And there it is, right there in 3 Nephi chapter 7. And sure enough, 4 years before, the sign of the death. 8 April 2024. And now I find out this past week, yesterday actually, that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints freaked out with that video and subsequent videos and pictures that ensued in a full-on panic mode. They purged their whole files of the Adam-on-Diamond priesthood meeting. Panicked in fear that I exposed them worldwide and that I was about to ruin everything as I almost ruined everything in my lawsuits. That Bill Barr was notified of in advance of the election and rejected it, and then it all happened. The church fears me. And thus my video yesterday, or the other day. When was it? LDS Mormon Church leadership are afraid. Yeah, that was the picture video. Yeah, yesterday, 2 a.m. in the morning. Yep. And in there I point out Adam-on-Diamond, exposing that. And so then last night for my church news video, I found out they purged it. So I start the morning yesterday at 2 in the morning with the church and their fear of me for exposing Adam-on-Diamond, and then close with the video about how, yep, the church is afraid of me because they purged the information. I couldn't find anything about it. The church usually has a topic on everything, and it's gone for Adam-on-Diamond. It is no longer on the list of 4 that I was taught in seminary of the second coming of Jesus. Adam-on-Diamond is first. Then he comes to Mormons, to his temple, second. Then to Jerusalem, third. And then to all the world, fourth. That is the order. Not anymore. Because I exposed Adam-on-Diamond as their 200-year-old plot to coup America, to get evangelicals to do it, to get Islam to do it. I didn't realize that the church meant Christians to be attacking Israel. Islam lives there. Why Christians? Nonetheless, this is all from study and research, guys. And so yes, if you follow me, you know that I make simple mistakes because I have visionary memory, not memorized memory. And so yes, I'll make mistakes on dates, I'll make mistakes on names. That's common. But hopefully I fix it within the video. If I'm listening to my video and I catch a mistake that I don't correct, I'll put in the comments below the correction. Hopefully, well, oftentimes it's before others get to the video because of the censorship of YouTube. But yeah. But people who know me know the corrected information so that they don't get confused. They know that I have visionary memory and not memorization memory. I don't have reference materials in front of me. I'm not reading from a script that other people do videos for. This is just me as a human being talking to as many people as YouTube will allow to warn you of the danger you're all in. And to find out the other week, Willard Richards was the one responsible for changing the change that Joseph Smith made in the second vision. To them, the Danites, will come in the latter days to burn the whole world. As the Danites called themselves the Destruction Company to destroy and burn. These are all what they did, but it's all encoded for what they are plotting to do for the latter days. And I exposed it all. So 2 a.m. and then 4 p.m. in a 12 or 14-hour time period. 7/7, huh? Yeah. And so, yep, sure enough, the church ordered YouTube to send me a death threat yesterday. And repeated it that evening when I was checking the news. They think it's funny. I post the video exposing that at the 4 o'clock hour, showing you the picture of the threat of Adam-on-Diamond. A little blue missionary card was their death threat to me. And here, the video that I did exposing that death threat back in 2021 was now being recommended to me. YouTube does not recommend my video content. And if they recommend my video content, it's only the more recent ones. This is a pattern of YouTube. So for them to go all the way back to 2021, taking 5 days to find it. Yeah. And this isn't some joke. They seriously want me murdered. There was a Mormon who, before 2024, 8 April, had heard me talking about the fall of the church, how the church is evil, they're wanting to murder everybody, and talking about the solar eclipse that's going to finish everything off to form the first and last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew script, because the Paleo-Hebrew script and alphabet were created by a seer as a visionary language, not a phonetic language. That's why there are no vowels. And yet scholars all claim we have no clue what's going on. Why did that? All consonants? That's a strange language. They don't know. And instead of saying, we don't know, they lie to get money to support themselves. He comes out and threatens to murder me on 8 April. And so, yeah, if the cops were to show up at his door, he'd cry and say, it was just a joke. Where's my comfort animal? I have to have my emotional support animal with me in prison. And so, yeah, after 8 April 2024 came and went, never heard from him again. Jesus failed to assassinate me. Jesus failed to show. And yeah, I'm still wondering what the hell happened. What's going on? All these prophecies not happening to finish off? Everything is happening, but not to finish. The final four. What's going on? What's happening? Well, in November 2024, I found out what happened. Oakes leaked to his talk to the new mission presidents on the 14th of March 2020. Shortly after I served the church on the 24th of February, which I didn't realize at the time, it was afterwards, that it was the anniversary of when I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew in 1997. Let's do the math. 2020, 1997, 3, 2, 23 years later. It would also be the date when Putin attacked Ukraine, the recent time. Then would come out and say, well, if Trump had won the election, as he should have, I would have had no need to attack Ukraine. So blame the Antifa Democrats for the coup of the government that Travis warned the government of in advance, and Bill Barr rejected it. Nonetheless, I always wondered, why is Trump purposely trying to lose the election? Yeah, I caught on. I do my research. I check all the news for this reason. I do the research, and it's expansive over all these years. The files alone, just dear God. And if I had known now what I knew then, or knew not then what I knew now, yeah, the files would be in order, and I wouldn't have the... Anyway. But Oakes tells these mission presidents, before it all hit the fan, that they were running a test run for Armageddon, the second coming of Jesus instead. The whistleblower came out that December of 2019. Nelson changed the law of chastity to child bride polygamy in 2019. And now Oaks leaks to the new mission presidents that 2020 is going to be a test run for Armageddon. Thus, all the hoarding of money is if the test run works. The child bride polygamy restoration, just in case the test run works. But it didn't. And so now 2024 to 2026 is an exact copy of 2020 to 2022, except for Trump giving Americans money. He won't do it, and he's making excuses not to do it. 2025, the whole year, yeah, you guys are going to get thousands of dollars, so much money from Doggy. Oh, I'm going to give you extra money. Oh, all this tariff money, you're going to get money from that too. Oh, so much money you're going to get. Oh, your taxes for this year, you're going to get so much money back on taxes. Big beautiful bill, so much money for you. I haven't seen a single penny, Trump. In fact, the cost of living has gone up so that I can't afford to live. What are you talking about? And so again, Trump says, oh, once the war is over, any day now, the prices will go back down, but you're not ending the war. Exactly. And then Trump has mic slips, whatever they are called, where he says, I don't care about the finances of the American people. I love inflation and blah, blah, blah. Trump has been told to destroy America. And instead of doing it quick like a blitzkrieg, he failed to do that. He allowed hesitation to get sued and to be stopped by judges. And so his art of the deal process is still going on for this second coming term. And it's pissing the church off. As the church is still panicked about me finding out and exposing more stuff about the church and their coup plot. So much so that last week, on the Monday, I'm denied access to the grocery store online. And then come Friday last week, I go to the grocery store and I get all the food in my cart. I scan it all in, put it in all the various bags, and then it says, internet down, card not accepted. What the bleeping hell? I'm under attack, just like in 2022. So yes, Monday's video on Adam on Diamond, the Danite coup plot. And then yesterday, both videos again going over the coup plot. How the church has been afraid of me And then with yesterday's church news video, sure enough. They know they're not stupid. And I've been trying to get that through to you guys. When the church leaders quote scripture at conference, I've been repeatedly informing you to fact check them. Because they're lying to you. They're making up all new doctrine. If you're not preaching the word as written, you're preaching another doctrine. If you remove the keystone, you're putting in another keystone, unless you're just destroying it altogether. But obviously the church isn't destroying everything. No, they've got a keystone, but they're lying to you that it's Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, calling it literal histories. That's a different doctrine. And the church's interpretation of literal histories, everybody knows is wrong and lying. This has been what the church has been covering up and hiding with literal historizing of things. They don't want anybody to know the truth, that they're the enemy and going to murder all mankind, getting other people to do it for them. Just like the two clerks. Just like Cox. Just like the prosecutors for Corey Richins and Tyler Robinson. Nobody is supposed to investigate. Nobody is supposed to use forensic science. Nobody is supposed to do real research and history research. Nobody is supposed to be intelligent. Everybody is supposed to remain in darkness and confusion on purpose to cover up and hide the church. And their 200-year-old plot to coup this government. So that's what's going on. So pay attention to the gag order hearing. The prosecution clearly violated it. The defense raised the issue in the court. They didn't go to the press. It's the prosecution who went to the press on the bullet fragment that doesn't match the weapon. That is what the defense is complaining about. That the prosecution violated the gag order of the judge by going to the press. And the prosecution says we had a responsibility to correct the misinformation that was all over the press because of the defense. No. The defense kept it within the court. You went to the press. You made public statements. Cox made public statements. Doing a press tour that weekend, skipping church. That was a violation of the gag order. So if the judge doesn't penalize them for violating the gag order, which is going to be pretty serious, because the defense raised other issues about the penalties required from other cases. But the main thing is that they're destroying the prosecution's case. And so one of the penalties would be to deny the death penalty. But nonetheless, dear God, there is no evidence from the prosecution. But we have to wait till next month when the prosecution will have to claim we don't have evidence for a case. And the defense will have to be able to figure it out because they flooded the discovery with a whole bunch of crap stuff. All made up, planted evidence and opinion stuff. Other false testimonials, other crap. And I know exactly how that was done. Remember? 2008. They had no intention of taking me to court, so they put in a whole bunch of lies and lied to other people to get them to lie about me. I know this tactic in Utah. So, yeah, that's what's going on. And to wrap this up, back in the 90s, Maury Povich was a popular TV show. There was another one also that did shock value TV shows. But Maury Povich loved to do the thing of having men dressed up as women and trying to see if his audience could tell which was the real man and which was the tranny. Back in those days, it was transvestite. If you were a man and you were still a man, but you wore women's clothing, you were a transvestite, because clothing. You're not a tranny in the sense of a guy chopping off his penis. There were people who were doing it back then, but it was very rare. And so Maury Povich, in doing this stunt, was trying to get his audience to love everybody. Because there's a lot of news stories coming out about guys going on a date with whom they thought was a beautiful woman, and when they take them back home, they're about to have sex and clothes come off, he's got a penis. What the hell? And so Maury, averting from the main issue that the person lied and deceived to their date, thinking that by lying and deceiving, they'll fall in love with them for who they really are. When you start off a relationship with lies, it's only going to end in chaos and problems. The guy cannot trust that person. They lied and deceived them. That's the real issue. Has nothing to do with a penis and, oh, you're gay because you like me because I had a penis and you thought I was a woman. No. That was my little teenage and childhood peers that were making those jokes. Oh, you're gay because you like guys. You got fooled. You thought the guy was a girl. And there's movies and TV shows making fun of that too. The 80s were horrifying for the attacks on the Constitution. To deny people rights. 14th Amendment, Section 1. And this Council for National Policy with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the evangelicals were under full attack to destroy America and the Constitution. The abuse done to women, oh my hell. And so yeah, the term feminazi from that time is fully appropriate. And now we call them Karens. It was specifically only for white women who call the cops on a black guy for being black. It's now expanded, but I mean, still, I saw the video again after, I don't know how long ago, it was last year or the year before, when the Utah woman in a public store is upset with the clothing of a teen girl, underage, and on video being covered. Everybody's recording this, so it went live all over the world. The Utah Mormon woman pantsed the teen girl in public. That kind of stupid mentality, from being taught misinformation by the religion of Lucifer's pure doctrine for his plan of happiness to be enforced upon all mankind. And the whole world now knows Mormons are evil, worshiping Satan. So, because of this, there's now AI with deep fakes and Photoshop pictures. And now they're saying in video content, can you spot AI? Which one's AI and which one's real? Which one's the real man? Which one is the tranny? They're doing the same thing. Again, people are getting fooled by AI. People are falling in love with an AI date. And maybe they don't care. They don't want to meet him in person. But there are people who believe that the people are real and they're AI instead. 300-pound guy in his mommy's basement pretending to be a hot little underage girl who will love me long Tim. Who's Long Tim? I want to meet Long Tim. The Office. So YouTube, the other week, it went in the news, YouTube is now requiring to designate AI content. They've been doing that for months. I saw it in the beginning when they forced me to declare whether my video contains AI or not. And they didn't call it AI. They said, do you alter images and post images that are not real? That's AI. Just say AI. And they didn't say AI. And so just the other week, they changed it. And I saw that, I see it all the time. It's now changed. Do you have AI in your content? Instead of do you change images? And I told you in the beginning when they made the change of the other images that it's AI. And they won't say AI. They forced me, just like kids. Is your video for kids? Obviously not. And they're forcing me to designate that my video is not for kids, instead of saying, if your video is for kids, you need to tell us. And just the whole issue is just stupid. And it's just a repeat of the 80s again, where these evangelicals and Church of Jesus Christers were on a tear of everything for idol worshiping, of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, to take away mankind's agency and destroy the Constitution. It's censorship. It is a direct assault and attack on the American Constitution. It is the coup of the government to tell other people not of your faith that you can't see R-rated movies, that you can't look at beautiful, lovely, and good report praiseworthy women. And the church is able to get women to tell other people not to do this? Getting psychologists to attack people? Oh, you're mentally retarded because you like women. Hey, I'm under attack because you're accusing me of being gay, and I'm under attack because you're accusing me of liking women. Which is it? Exactly. The whole intention was to turn everything into confusion, to vilify everything, to not make sense, to be contradictory. Chaos and confusion was the goal, and it worked. Businesses caved. Just like with AI, businesses caved. Sports Illustrated, being dedicated to beautiful, lovely, of good report and praiseworthy women, have been attacked by the neo-feminazis to put not physically fit, healthy women. And now they're using AI images. So the women aren't even real anymore. I mean, sure, Nicole, she's a real woman, but they're using AI touch-ups to make her not Nicole. And you saw this with the apps that were coming out. Oh, you can put all sorts of stuff and you can make your eyes huge. This was a mask to cover up and hide your actual identity. This is what the attacks were back in the 80s to women. Cover up and hide the pure doctrine of Lucifer. And it's back with AI. People are ashamed of who they are, ashamed of what they look like, because of religion and feminazis and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who want you to feel guilty, who want you blacklisted so that they can extort you to their will, so that when they give you the order to murder somebody, you have no choice but to do it. And then we get Bill Gates, who testified in Congress and said, "Oh, he extorted me. Epstein extorted me. I was having affairs and he was going to expose those affairs, and so I had to have sex with underage girls. I had no choice. He was extorting me." How many of them were the Mormon girl pints of blood? Ordered by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, whom Epstein met with. And the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. What does it take to destroy this church? because you're not listening to my warning voice. And apparently the church is unsuccessful too. Purposely making Mormons the enemy of mankind, and then mankind is still not doing it. What the hell? What does it take? Joseph Smith's got prophecies to have fulfilled so that the church can have them erased from Scripture. What prophecy? So they don't talk about it. They accuse you of it. I don't care anymore. I really don't care anymore. I changed my whole life, gave it all up to save your lives. List of codes, come follow me, Doctrine and Covenants 2025. So let's see what they said on it last year. I think if I remember correctly, they did remove all of the references to our Christ. But I can't remember if I checked on section 101. Because previously I know that they always accused Mormons of being the servants rather than the servants as the servants. The apostles. So 101, September 8th through the 14th, page 218. So this is it. Okay. And 101, 16, 23 to 32. Then a picture of war, or the tar and feathering. Yeah, the tar and feathering. But then section 102. 98, 101, 43. Oh, here it is. Following God's counsel helps keep me safe. No, it's about the living prophets of Jesus who are supposed to keep the members safe. And that all the money of tithing is supposed to go exclusively to the membership and not to other people, nor to fund an insurrection coup against the government. The parable in Doctrine and Covenants 101, verse 43 to 62 explains why the Lord allowed the saints to be driven out of Zion. No, this is a prophecy of the latter days, you dumbasses. As you read these verses, do you see any ways you are like the servants? Yeah, still the same thing. No, you're the 12 olive trees that were supposed to be protected by the leadership of the church, and the enemy comes in and destroys everything and then deports you out. This is the deportation that was supposed to happen. But because the church is now trying to aggravate Trump to then come in to forcibly deport, rather than self-deporting, or Cox working with ICE to deport, even though there are a lot of city police who are working with ICE in secret. That report was exposed this past week. Even though we knew of several of them that were outwardly saying we're working with ICE, the report shows that there have been other police that have been secretly joining with ICE, but still we're not seeing the deportations that are required by Trump. We're still seeing the complaints, the 2 clerks, another example. Not just the woman who was in Colorado, not just the BYU musician, these others. This is what's supposed to happen. The presidents of the church, the leaders of the church, are supposed to protect members, to warn, to have us build Zion as a place of peace, safety, and refuge. And like I showed last night, I ain't got plans for Zion. Everything is going to be the status quo. Christians will destroy the world, and only the church will remain, and anybody who survives in the church then raises up the church with the pure doctrine of Lucifer all around the world. That's it. There is no Zion. There is no exodus to Zion. Adamon Diamond has been erased now. And here they are telling you last year that you are the servants. The church leaders are not responsible for anything. They aren't the shepherds of the flock. We wash our hands. We are not responsible. Dear God, just pure evil. Act out accounts or parables. Sometimes it's easier to learn from and relate to stories and parables in the scriptures when we put ourselves in the place of the people they describe. You mean liken the scriptures unto yourself? But you're the 12 olive trees, not the servants. You're supposed to put the leaders of the church as the servants. Now go to the part where it says, hey, let us put the money into the investment treasury or whatever it's called. To the scripture. Don't memorize. See if anybody knows about the last day's supper, where Jesus is talking to his apostles. And that's also why Joseph uses that in his 19 July 1840 to expand upon the destruction of verse 51. Quoting from only Mark chapter 14 on that one. Yeah, here it is. Verse 48. The servants consulted for a long time, saying among themselves, what need hath my Lord of this tower, seeing this is a time of peace? Yeah, the members built the church office building. The church leaders had nothing to do with it. Had nothing to do with the apostles saying, let's make it so huge. And then the president said, no, we need to be more conservative with our money. We don't want to build it and hope that they will come. And yet they still 24 floors or whatever floors number. Yeah, that's why. The leaders of the church, the servants. Everybody knows that the church office building is this tower. Might not this money be given to the exchangers? And you didn't catch that? They didn't want to talk about it. Judas! Judas! The leaders of the church are going to be Judas in the latter days. And Joseph Smith calls out Brigham Young and his 12 in that scripture that Brigham Young refused to publish. The 12 apostles and the false president who denies the gifts and powers of God are the ones who are Judas to the church. I've been covering this repeatedly because new people are always coming who don't go back to my older videos, who only came as new because YouTube finally allowed my quota for recommends to that new person. And then they don't become regulars like the handful that are. I know the stats. I know how many people are regulars. And it's dominantly new people who do not continue to follow me regularly. It has been a long time since a new person has become a regular person. And even some who tried to be regular fell away. They couldn't endure. They found something that they disagreed with because they don't study, they don't do the research, and they fall away. Because their feelings tells them it can't be true. They get upset about me getting upset. They get upset when they hear that the church is of the devil. They don't understand because they didn't study. They're still caught up in the misinformation taught to them by this church. Or if they're an ex-fo Pimo or even a nevermo, by those lies. Nobody is doing their research and study because the church doesn't want you to know information. They don't want you to be intelligent. They want you stupid on purpose to cause confusion, to cause darkness. They know how effective it is by Constantine doing it for over 1,700 years. It's an effective tool. 4 billion people on the earth have fallen prey 1,700 years later. And so psychology uses this. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints uses it. So eventually Trump is supposed to come in as a thief in the night, like Jesus, to break down the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I'm kind of surprised by this, because the church is purposely doing this. They're purposely having Cox not deport the illegals so that Trump will be furious with Utah and come in and do it himself. And thus destroy everything and betray Cox. And Cox gets handcuffed, goes to ICE detention facility of 10,000, where Sister Homewrecker Mayor Mendenhall shut off the water to. Of which she too, for suing, is also going to go. And that's what you need to pay attention to, is everything is escalating, exposing Utah as not MAGA. We're a blue state. We're a sanctuary state. We murdered Charlie Kirk. We're getting exposed repeatedly, escalatedly lately. Lee pissed off the whole world against this church by forcing Trump to force Hegseth to classify the church as Christian and all Christian religions as not Christian. Even though Trump yesterday acknowledged the Catholic Church. Even though it's not Christian anymore. All of these things with the 2 Utah Mormon clerks. It's gone national. Utah is getting exposed of betraying Trump. All coming out, new shows about how wicked and evil Mormons are. Not just the slutty whores of Salt Lake City show. Calling it soft swinging, whatever. And their actual lives of chaos to help enhance the show promotions. Cut it out. Hell, Do not take your work home with you. Nonetheless, celebrities, prima donnas, all of this is escalating, all to incite violence against the church. And the church claims, oh, we're victims. But this is what's coming. And dear God, they suck at their job of being evil. Everything. The temple is supposed to be destroyed. The billions of dollars from Putin put into the Salt Lake Temple renovation that they got busted by the SEC for. All of it is supposed to be destroyed. And yet, despite the church doing this all on purpose, Joseph Smith still says that the leaders of the church are going to be woken up in the middle of the night and be affrighted and flee. That's why I word my videos the way I do. I'm referring to this. This is a prophecy by Joseph Smith. This is their plot. Even Brigham Young, in his 200-year-old plot, is betraying Oaks. The devil doesn't support his own. The whole 12, all are to be betrayed by Brigham Young. Because he's going to be dead. He doesn't give a damn. Just like these old men are old on purpose, so that they don't give a damn. So that they will be loyal to getting the church, hoarding money, pissing everybody off, as people suffer financially and the church is filthy rich. This is why Operation Rio Grande occurred. Because the church said, bleep you, poor, and complained to the government to have the government find out a way to get rid of the homeless at Temple Square. Panhandling for a living. Politicians panhandle for a living. It's considered a job. But not when the poor do it. That's what's going on in the bigger picture, people. And so for me to be born, to be Mormon, to be taught how to study, and to go beyond, because they taught me to. And then because of the study and research, I'm gaining intelligence, line upon line, precept upon precept, to become the being that I was born to be. And I've got this church wetting their diapers. I've got Oaks furious with me that I leaked him, that he leaked himself. That I'm an annoyer and disturber, in case you missed that quote in the video yesterday. Joseph Smith wrote what he wrote on purpose. Spirit, people. not literal history. And it's Friday, and I don't care anymore. Last night I crashed. It was a 9-hour crash. Dear God. Here it is, 10:30. And I'm wearing the red shirt, warning, but with no results. It's just nothing but frustration for me. Signs in the heavens today. Dear God. Perfect. For the whole past week or two, signs in the heavens galore. All leading up to today's. And then I'm putting on the red shirt yesterday, and I went, oh, yeah, for tomorrow. Morning video. And yet, still I'm waiting. What does it take to shut down this church so that I can save Mormon lives who choose to be saved? Because all Mormons ain't coming. Did you not study your script? Oh, right, you didn't. Thus, the scriptures say that the Mormons who get rejected will weep and wail and gnash their teeth. They're going to be pissed. What the hell? Why can't I come to Zion? Because you don't want to. You just want to come and destroy it. You're not pure of heart. You're lying. You're deceiving. You're committing crimes. You're following Lucifer's great plan of happiness of the pure doctrine. You're still brainwashed to this church. You're still attempting to murder me by posting my video from 2021. And you think you're going to trick me into coming into Zion, huh? But the scriptures make it very clear there may not be a Zion. Church, very clear on this. If they don't get their version, which is Salt Lake City headquarters, and then survivors around the world, then everything dies. That's the way they are as old men. If they can't have it their way, nobody gets it. So that's why I go over the Test by Heber C. Kimball, and then John Taylor's Dream by Wilford Woodruff. Yeah. Pay attention to the words, guys. And I have to keep repeating this because you guys are new. If you're even still listening, most likely the ones who are regulars already are listening and they know and understand. Hey, guys. I'm still wondering why Frederick hasn't reached out to me from Sweden, as I saw Sweden is watching me. I don't know who the Canadian is. I'm hoping it's my son. But it could also be a guy from Canada who was in a group that I was in West Valley. His cousin was in our ward. And he wanted to form a group of anti-Mormon apologists to use science instead of apologies. And he bailed on us when Mormon apologists bribed him to publish one of his publications as long as he gives up science. They would welcome him in, and he caved. And so it was over. But there was a Canadian involved in our group. And so he was aware of my YouTube channel, as others were as well. but they were offended openly towards me that I would betray the church. Not betraying the church. I fully support Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, in case you hadn't caught on yet. It's the leaders of this church that betrayed the church, betrayed Joseph Smith. They're the Judases. So I don't know if it's my son or that guy. And YouTube knows how to distinguish between locations from VPNs, or not VPNs, IP addresses. Even if it were a VPN being used, it would still show the IPN for the VPN. IP address for the VPN. I had a website. I knew all about this. I was able to know what city and even what area of the IP the person was coming from. And so I knew when Russia was stealing my data. Just ask me, guys. Or North Korea, China. Yep, I was very influential on the website that I had. I don't know about the website that Paul set up for me. There are a few people who reach out to me from that, but they all are gone now. The Studying Mormonism that I've started to post on YouTube and have a file to keep going, but this was supposed to be a Zion project, but nonetheless. That also was from a person who saw me from the website. Academia this past week showed that 9 people came, and then 7 people came, and then yesterday 3 or 5 came. So my Academia page is getting more notice now. But again, if you're still listening and you know about that and you're new, not a regular, YouTube is where I focus on. Academia, the stuff that I have still needs to be worked on. The Joseph Smith first draft, yeah. I try to let you know it's not completed yet. It's not the finished product. The only thing that is, for the most part, completed is my Paleo-Hebrew research. But you got to get the newer stuff. And even then, I need to update it because it's still the pre-3 solar eclipses for the first and last letters of the alphabet. Only YouTube has that information for you. Because, like I said, when I found out about the total solar eclipse over America, everything stopped, and I focused solely on warning people. Everything in my life was put aside. You know, occasionally I do stuff on the side, but everything was put on hold to save lives. I go into the fire. I don't run away. And the Mormon who ordered to send me that death threat of my own video, he doesn't get it. You know, maybe he thinks it's funny and he's laughing hilariously in his mommy's basement as a 300-pound girl rather than a guy. But still, you don't get it. The church has tried to murder me, erase me, and here I am still. The church fears me. And you, as a dumb Mormon, think it's hilarious to threaten to murder me, whether or not the church told you to do it, or whether you were influenced by the church to do it. You still get the church in trouble, but still, do you not get it? You're a YouTube employee. How long have you been working for YouTube doing this to me? Haven't you been with me the whole time, or are you somebody new? Do you not get it? All of your attempts to censor me, and I'm still here, trying to save lives. And you think that because I'm false and an apostate, that you're justified? That I'll shut up? I'll go away? I'll get scared and confess the truth, that the church is somehow true? You don't get it, do you? You're stupid. The church tried to murder me, and I'm still here. And the church fears me. And you're that dense to not fear me too? The other Mormon who was going to murder me on 8 April, he's gone in shame for his failure. Mr. NoFap, who threatened to murder me, he's gone. I'm still here, giving up my whole life to try to save lives. And you think you, in your lowly, pathetic position, can shut me up and cower and hide and confess the truth of the lie? Yeah, that's how mentally retarded you are. Mormons do not get it, because the church have caused your brain damage. And all I'm trying to do is make you intelligent. And it's the hardest thing in the world to do without taking away your agency. You will be intelligent. No! I don't want to. Come here. No. I should stop, even though I can keep on going.